Hey everybody, it's Phyllis, and I wanted to do a special Oracle Uncensored. I'm going to do a couple things. I've invited Jeff Cloud to come on and talk, but I wanted to take the time because I said I would and talk about my DMT experience. And so while I'm waiting for Jeff, I'll do that. Actually, I'm going to do a couple commercials first. And I got to start with gratitude because that was the biggest lesson that came out of the DMT was in gratitude we rise. That'll be the meme. You'll be seeing that popping up. In gratitude we rise. And I forgot to bring down my copy of the Omniverse by Alfred Labramont Weber, which I am reading now. And he gives us a new understanding of our biology, our physiology, our typology as a species in relationship to the omniverse, the multiverses, the universes. It's all kind of like layers and layers of dimensions, densities, and realities. And that had been feeding my left brain consciousness before I went into this experience. And what happened for me in the experience was um, a evolving of my. I, Let me put it to you the way I felt it. It was like putting on a corset. And for women who know what a corset wearing feels like, it's that, ooh, this feels good and tight and snug and sensual and all that effervescence high that takes energy from the lower regions up to your upper regions, all of that and more. So, first, I want to start by talking about what happened the first time I took changa and smoked that. And I ended up the milder version of this first story. And what I saw was rows and rows and rows laid out, laid out, laid out, laid out, like in every direction of these color blobs. So imagine a not a snowflake because we think of snowflakes as two dimensional, but as a hexagon or something, that's got up and down sides. Kind of got 8 points coming out of it. Um, and it's these colors that just vibrate, move, and turn in and out. I just saw these colors and rows and rows. And as I went down, there were darkness, and I was like looking down hallways and going, okay, rows of color. This is boring. I'm like, this is the universe. And I felt like I'd stepped into the back office, the infrastructure of how this matrix is created. All right, Jeff has made it on. Hey, Jeff, come on. Let me add you to the stream. Let me just finish up the story because I brought you into the middle of it. Um, and when I finished that piece, and it's only 15 minutes long, so I came out of that experience and then went into, okay, what was that about? The universe is pretty boring. I'm like, I'm bored. What's going on here? And it was like the Truman Show. Everything behind this facade is somebody's organizational structure. And so, fast forward to last night and that DMT experience. And that was, from if you've had the ayahuasca journey or the San Pedro journey, you get the pixelization as at first something is shifting. These pixels were a lot bigger and a lot bolder in color. And it was like, whoa, coming at you. And then I realized something. Those color blobs that I looked at, rows and rows of them before in the past, I was now in one of them. And I was being formed and created in this color blob. And I'm like, oh, and it's not a blob as in unstructured, it's highly structured. And as the chakras started moving up through my body, and I could look down and see them forming and feel them forming, and my sensory, olfactory pieces were coming together in a new way, and I could smell the DMT in my body, and I can still smell it. Now I can smell it in everything, which has kind of been the after effect. But as it was mowing up the body and it got to the heart chakra and that green color just kind of woof, and I could feel the corseting happening. And my body responded by just kind of going, okay, this is gonna feel good. I'm gonna enjoy this. But I know I was being also locked into the body and understanding that the dimensional realities were going to stick. And so as it got up to the head, it got purple and the colors were amazing. And as I opened and closed my eyes, going in and out of this illusion versus what I was seeing with the eyes closed, what was a gift was seeing with the eyes open the connectivity of all things. The tree that was next to me, the cement that looked like lattice, as in lace, and the structures of life that just kind of emanated. And I went, oh, get it. I'm part of it. Got it. In the flow, baby. But being in the body and still feeling the flow was the gratefulness of it. And yet there was the constriction that was happening at the head, and it was feeling that, oh, I'm about to be locked into this body again. And I went, oh no, let me out. And as I looked up, I could see the sky and the sun, and I realized, there's a portal up there, and I need to go toward that portal. And I could hear the voice just say to me, in gratitude, we rise. And I realized at that point, as I was coming out of it, I went, oh, let me out of this body. I don't want to be stuck in the prison of the body. As beautiful and as wonderful and as good as it was feeling, and I got the best high I could experience, it was still a challenge. And I went, I'm still going to have to do the work in this body, in this 3D body. So that was my DMT experience with Mimosa Pudica. It was created by one of those alchemists that come through my community, my conscious community in Vilcabamba. And I just went, yes, I'm saluting. I'm taking my medicine. We're going to go in and check in and see what was going on. And coming out of those experiences and coming out of a week of the Optimized Life Week experience that I hosted here in Vilcabamba was a lot of other revelations that with the work of owning masculinity and that book that I was asked to do over a year ago that brought me into connecting with the masculine again in a way that was like, I'm diving in. You know, the Mayans say before enlightenment, I think how they say it, it's chop wood and carry water. I'm sure the Buddhists say it too. After enlightenment, it's still chop wood and carry water. So that's why I wanted to talk to my brother Jeff, because it's not just a one subject conversation. And as I have been looking at the diversity of this space that we are inhabiting and all the work that there is to do, and I have been poo-pooed trying to do anything in the masculine because it's like, no, men have to work with women and women have to work with women. And I'm like, who said so? And so when Jeff said to me, hey, Jeff, let me add you on here, darling. Hey. When Jeff said to me, hey, cutie, he said, I'm working with women now. I went,
I love your background.
Oh, yeah, I'm in my garden, And I just said, I got to talk to Jeff and see what Jeff is doing. Hey, brother. And I'm going to do what I normally don't do. And which is like, I just want to get right into it because I know you already. And I'm like, I'm not being fair to my guest. So I need to start from the beginning and welcome you as a brother I met in Chiang Mai, which have California connections. You know, we have these, I look at these giant neurons that we can see. I'm like, oh, wait, no, we've already connected. So it's with you again late at night in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you. I love hearing the birds chirp in the background. I'm a nature guy for sure. I mean, I know everybody is. It might sound
yeah.
So great to hear it and great to see you. So what do you want to dive into? I have no idea of any topic or anything. I'm just here to dive in.
I know. Tell me. I know. Well, I'm diving to you first. Let's go to you. Tell me who you are. Who are you? Who are you? Let's start with that.
That's a deep one. We could fill up a whole show on just trying to figure that out. But my name is Jeff Cloud in this lifetime, I guess. It's the name that was given to me. But been on, I guess, for lack of a better term to describe it, an awakening journey that really kind of took off in 2001. when I met my mentor, Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of The Four Agreements, Mastery of Love. I met him in San Diego. I had been a recording engineer for many years, which is what I've done. That's been one of my number one passions, recording engineer, producing music, and guitar player, which I still do to this day. But I met Miguel, and I had been recycling or cycling through some of the same issues in relationships, addictions, alcohol, being in the music business, there can be lots of drinking, lots of smoking weed, other things. I dabbled in mushrooms, which I'm not sorry about at all. I came on to the conversation later. I didn't know we were starting before 10, but then you were jumped right into DMT. So my ears just pricked up on that very much so. But basically when I met Miguel, I saw that he had something very special. And I was very lucky to be blessed to be in a very small group at that time, which was about, I don't know, anywhere from 6 to 10 people. And we would get together every month and I'd go hear him speak. And it eventually became these 3-day dreaming weekends, as they were called. And we had to sign up for a year at a time to be committed. So that was 12 months that we would all get together for 2.5 to 3 days, Friday through Sunday. And we would go deep into the tools. And one of the deepest processes that was so life-changing for me is a form of the process that I use in my monthly Waking Up in the Dream courses. I call it the mirroring process. For those that don't know, I never planned on writing a book ever in my life. It was never even a spark of an idea. And then in 2016, I just kind of started waking up at like 3 a.m. and I was inspired, and I'm like, okay, if I were to try and teach myself everything I've learned, and in 2016, it was 10 years of really studying closely with Miguel and some of the other Toltec teachers, as they're called. And then to be able to afford to do a lot of the stuff with Miguel, to go to the workshops and the things around the United States, I became his recording engineer. So I found a way to kind of trade and offset, because I've been living in a recording studio. I lived in 3 different recording studios in San Diego for 17 years. So I didn't have to pay rent on an apartment.
Oh, smart.
So I could build up my gear, my microphones, my guitars, my amps, my mixing board that went from this to 40 input channel, analog, full-blown console that I spent 1.5 years modifying with some really big, amazing people that took me under their wing up in LA. And so when I started downloading this information, I wouldn't say I poo-pooed it, but I didn't know what it was going to evolve into, what it is today. And after I kind of put it together, I shared it with a couple of women that I know. And they're like, you have to put this out. This is such a powerful roadmap. And so it's a very condensed way where I can fast track people through what is coming up on 20 years of my awakening process and journey. And so every month I take people through this process for 4 weeks, and it's so life-changing. Of course, it's my course. You would think I'm going to say that, but it truly is. And I can describe, if you want to hear a little bit about it, why it is that way.
Right. Yeah. What? Give me the bottom line.
Okay. So the bottom line, the quickest way I can explain it, is we all take on a belief system from the time that we're born and the time that we can start processing information in words, thoughts, emotional reactions. I mean, I know people that say, I already knew where I came from and things like that the minute I was born or something. That wasn't my experience. Even though I talk to Saint Germain, well, it's a one-way conversation. I say, hey, I resonate with the color purple, the frequencies. Jimi Hendrix was a huge vibrational download for me personally of a very high level, which still has not been matched in certain ways to this day. But the best way to explain it is we begin to receive downloads from our parents our grandparents. Then for me, it was Catholic school, very angry nuns, tons of judgment, shame, guilt. If you look at the other sects, you're going to hell forever. Judgment Day. If you ever masturbate, you're going to hell for 1,000,000 years. You're going to burn in fire. And I did that, and I was also an altar boy in Catholic school and church until 9th grade.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
Even in 2nd grade, I didn't know anything about conscious awareness or awakening, nothing like that. But I knew I could feel that something was very wrong with the anger in the program from 75-year young Sister Mary Teresa, who was just pissed off every day. And, come to figure out later, well, she probably figured out I gave my whole life up into this program based on fear, judgment, and putting our power into an external God. And so for anybody that's still doing religion or whatever, that's your path. I'm not judging it. I'm sharing what happened for me and what was a big wake up. So fast forward to meeting Miguel. And also I left out the school system, which basically teaches you what to think, not how to think. And then you've got science and history, which have both been hugely and massively manipulated. That's a whole nother rabbit hole if you choose to go down it, but it's true, in order to keep us vibrating in a low vibration. So I certainly don't want to leave out the mainstream media and the television, which is the biggest programming tool on the planet.
Right.
And you can see people being pitted against each other, especially in the last couple of weeks, little Greta, climate change backed by Soros, and all these people that have an interest in putting us in fear once again, getting us to argue with each other. It's the same thing, Republican versus Democrat. Right. And so when you begin to wake up, the awakening process can only begin when one begins to question every single belief.
I would say that's one option, and because mine was a little different, but go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for that. Yeah, you could experience DMT, or you could just have a Kundalini awakening, or you could just see things.
But or all of the above, and more. Yeah.
But most of the people that come into groups and I do sessions with, the place that they want to get to and experience more joy, more groundedness, more peace in their life, usually goes back to a childhood wound or a program. And what I see is, and the reason why the book and the course is changing people's lives in such a short amount of time, is because I get people to question their belief system. Because you can put more information on top of anything. We can talk about crystals and the Palladians and anything you want to talk about. But what I found is, unless you go in and clear a childhood wound or a belief system of unworthiness, not enough, lack, afraid to speak your truth, or whatever that is, you can put anything on top of it. But those 50 to 80,000 thoughts, as Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton talk about, two people that are really great to check out on YouTube if you want to, have some real science behind the awakening process. And all this stuff is free on YouTube, so highly recommended. But unless you're willing to go in and question the belief system, what happens is people mistake the identity of who they are with their belief system. It has nothing to do with who you are as a sovereign, divine, unlimited being.
Of course, but
remember.
And I think that's a good comparison to calling that the beginning of awakening. Is that separation from a belief system from your identity?
Yeah.
And
so
knowing
I'll finish
that
with this. Yeah. The belief system is like somebody taking a thumb drive, my camera's over here, and just plugging it into your mind. And then the mind just recycles all of that. When you mistake your belief system for who you are, the ego gets triggered, with any source of information that comes in that goes against the belief system. It goes, I need to defend this. I need to keep you safe. Well, that was an old program of survival from going back thousands or millions of years ago. That's not the program that serves us anymore. So I teach people how to identify that in the first week through tools and PowerPoint presentations. But then it's when we get on the weekly calls, I keep the groups very small, 10 people or less. And then we get on the calls, which are always 2+ hours each week. And we go into the mirroring. Because we cannot change that which we cannot see. So the book and the trainings bring up the questions. I have people journal every day, and I have everybody go out and get a clicker. It's not optional. And this clicker is to track and become aware of the frequency and the vibration of every single judgment, every single less than thought, and every single thing that triggers us. Because you could try and write it down in this is brilliant. And I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but I had to figure out how can we begin to track the 50 to 80,000 thoughts. And there's no way that we're going to track.
Give me numbers. Give me numbers.
Well,
what kind of numbers?
First day was like 72. And that's a win. Because here's what happens. When you begin to see your judgments in the program, it's very shocking at first. But then the ego wants to judge you every time you have a judgment. But no, the key is to high-five yourself every single time you catch a judgment. And the higher your number in the beginning, that shows that your level of awareness is catching patterns that you've been recycling for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years in case some people that I work with. And so you want to high-five that. And so I give everybody a very simple sheet at the end of the day to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, writing down your clicker score and then writing down what are the things that are coming up for me so you can bring them into the light a little bit more and really begin to see the pattern. Then you get on the weekly call and we do the mirroring and people start to go, oh my God, I didn't even remember that, or because the ego wants to protect that and not go back to that point if there is a childhood wound or a traumatic event.
Brilliant, really brother. I mean, when you say tools, you really meant tools. Okay, I love that.
It is a complete game changer when you begin to see it. And all it requires is curiosity, but it also requires 100% ownership of I'm responsible for every choice I made. And this is where people can get a little bit triggered. You know, I'm currently working with 7 women right now. In
Talk
3
to
years.
me about that. And wait, go back and tell me how that started.
How it started that I'm working with women?
Right.
Well,
so that's this crossover that we're doing, day and night, and black and white, and country and continent.
Years ago, when after I met Don Miguel Ruiz and studied with a lot of other teachers, I was very hungry, and I probably had the same 200 spiritual book collection that my girlfriend had, and a lot of people had. The Power of Now, Marianne Williamson, The Law of One, Rasha, Byron Katie, Loving What Is, Wayne Dyer, all that stuff. And so I came across this local organization called the Mankind Project. And that's international, I'm pretty sure. And so I went to a thing called the Mankind Project Warrior Weekend. And that was pretty intense. And when I went through that, then I had an opportunity to come back and start to serve as a mentor through the process for men that came through it. And I really took to that because then I really had some tools, and I saw how many men had been taught to be a man, don't be a pussy, don't show your feelings, don't cry. And so all this bottled up stuff that creates heart attacks, disease, and failed relationships for men over and over and over. So when I jumped to Thailand in 2016 on a whim, just based on somebody that I had met on the internet. And we Skyped for 5 months and thought we were soulmates and had a lot in common. And so my recording studio in San Diego happened to flood. A pipe broke underneath the kitchen foundation. So I was out of business for 6 months, and we thought that we were going to keep our beautiful home in Oceanside, California. And 4 days before December, when we were all set to travel, the landlord called us up and said, "Sorry guys, we love you, but we lost so much money from the insurance company. We're going to move back in at the end of December. So you basically have 34 days to get your stuff in order and move out." So
Thailand, here you come.
Yeah, so I jumped to Thailand with $650 to my name. No income, no money in the bank, no medical and dental, nothing. And after spending a couple weeks with my supposed soul partner, it was over. And I can just share a little tidbit, because Skyping for 5 months, whoops, my screen just went into sleep mode. Skyping for 5 months, sometimes 8 hours a night, you still do not know that person until you get in their energy field and you are right there. Because I'm telling you, we're both fairly intelligent. We've done a lot of work. We thought this was it, you know. Out of everybody we've met, you're the one. So anyway, I ended up in survival mode in Nepal with almost no money. And I'm like, okay, well, first time in 25 years, I have no home in San Diego, and I have no recording studio. All my gear's in storage. So what am I going to do? So at the time, the book that's now called Waking Up in the Dream was going to be titled Finding the Gift, because the take on it was there's a gift in everything that happens to you in life, especially the challenging ones and the really painful ones, if you have the willingness to ask the question, what is this trying to teach me? So I got off. Yeah. So I got off. It's very empowering. And again, it puts you in 100% ownership. So you're not projecting, they did this to me, he did that to me.
And responsibility.
My job. Totally. Yeah. Because if you're a victim, nothing's ever going to change, because that's your story.
Right.
The universe is going to go, okay, let me mirror back more of that to you.
Exactly.
So we create our dream, our reality. We're dreaming right now. I know you know that. Miguel taught me that, and it was a big, another aha moment.
I'm living in the dream, baby.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I was in Nepal, and it was a Skype call where our relationship blew up and ended. And I was waiting for her to come to Nepal. So I remember getting off the call and just going, 10:22 right now, just going, it just hit me. It was super clear. Okay, Mr. Find the Gift. What's the gift? And so I had to take ownership, and I went, okay, I followed my heart. I'm in a completely separate country than even the one Thailand that I jumped to. Now I'm in Nepal, I'm in Kathmandu. And I'm like, what are you going to do? And I was just like, I don't know, but I know this is right. Even with fear coming up and going, holy crap, you don't even have anybody to call. I don't have rich parents to, you know, my dad died in a plane crash when I was 7, you know, so I moved out on my own at a very early age, right before I turned 16.
Okay. All right. So you get, let's move you fast forward, because I got to Mankind Project and the women. So how did those cross over?
Well, I ended up creating a job for myself by being in Nepal and seeing somebody working with some of my friends in San Diego. And he had a coaching outfit. And I ended up reaching out to him and said, I see you working with some of my friends. I've done this, this, and this. And would you be interested in getting on a call? So he said, yes. So the next thing I know, I got hired by this outfit out of the UK that was working with men only. So I did that for about a year and a half. And then they were charging these men $5,000 for a 6-week course. And it was worth it. It's life-changing stuff. But I was only getting paid $120 out of that $5,000. And after I did it for about a year and a half, I said, you know, there was some talk about giving me an increase. So I'm like, yeah, how about just doubling, what you're paying me? I would be okay with that. And that broke the camel's back for some reason. So that was too much to ask out of 5,000. So that was what came back to me. So basically, that was the gift that ended up having me finish the book, change the title to Waking Up in the Dream, and create the Waking Up in the Dream course. So I learned a lot from the Mankind Project and the other men's coaching program. Mm-hmm. But I decided that I don't want to just work with men, and I don't want to just work with women. Mm-hmm. It's time for us to come together. There is an advantage I see now that I did last month. Interestingly enough, it was all men, not planned at all. And this month, mostly women showed up. And in the last week, 3 men showed up and said, okay, I'm in. And I had gotten on calls with about 4 of these women. And I realized through the depth of these calls, some of them we were crying together. I mean, there's some deep stuff. I'm talking about deep wounds and some sexual abuse. And I'm like, these women aren't going to go this deep if I bring those men into this particular group.
So you're doing separate groups?
Well, I just followed the lead in my intuition on this particular group. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to try and do men. I take who shows up. Yeah. And for the last 1.5 years, 2 years, it's been men and women together. And that's been really powerful in itself. Mm-hmm. I'm not in a position where I can really hold out and be choosy. I just take what the universe brings to me vibrationally. Mm-hmm. Because one thing that I'm learning is it's been difficult in a way to advertise a group called Waking Up in the Dream. Excuse me. Because people don't know what they're going to get. I can try and tell them, you're going to raise your conscious awareness, and I'm going to open the door like my teachers did to where you're going to see things in a completely different way than you've ever seen them before. And it's going to positively affect every single area of your life: health, wealth, relationships, business, and whatever else. But people can't see what they don't see.
Well, I agree, and I understand the waking up in the dream kind of goes, well, where am I going? And a dream state doesn't go. I like the original name, the gift. Is that kind of finding the gift in all situations is something my body instinctually relates to, and going, oh, that's something I have to do often. Nice. And as I think about what I came out of the DMT experience was, in gratitude we arise. And as I read more about the omniverse and our third dimensional reality, because that to me is our biggest issue. We're stuck in this repeating reincarnation cycle, which I'm tired of. And most of us are, they're like, okay, when do we get to grow up and do something else? And that comes from a maturity of our being. It is dealing with the triggers. It is dealing with the abuse. It is dealing with those lower dimensional hooks that keep us stuck. And a freaking counter is brilliant, because I have said to people, every time you catch yourself speaking a negative, don't beat yourself up. Use it to flip it and go, well, find the positive in that, and use that as your trigger to use it for you, not against you. So I love that simplicity of making that work. So let me ask with the women, are you finding, because we all got sexual abuse. That's one thing my book has taught me. And the powerful piece in the book for me was that the abuse of the masculine, sexual abuse, beginning with circumcision, is much more, the numbers are statistically much more higher on male abuse than male on female abuse. But male on female abuse is much more publicized, and whether women are complaining about it or men are being blamed or on the side of the perpetrator, I'm going, isn't that interesting? We have those higher numbers that aren't being seen. And I kind of took an academic approach actually when I started my book, and just kind of went, well, okay, yeah, I know. I'd done the research, had gotten the forensic psychological reports from the nurse board that I served on in the state of Texas, and they provided me the information and the stats, and I just kind of went, oh. But as a dominatrix, I also knew, you know, what you repress, you're going to want to experience. And so no matter whether it comes from religious programming or parental abuse, you identify with your abuser, or the Stockholm syndrome it's called, but it applies to everything and everybody. And that is a difficult one that I don't think we as a species have considered enough. That Stockholm thing has to come home to us. And so when I wanted to ask specifically is um, differences. I don't need the details. I don't want to out anybody, but the differences in the feminine abuse versus the masculine abuse. And are you hearing types or differences in that area from your work with both of us, all of us?
Such a great question. I just want to honor you for your insight in the fact that you brought up. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody bring that up in true balance, that everybody that got circumcised, I mean, that's probably one of the most traumatic things that could ever happen to you right out of the womb.
Right.
And then they try and poo-poo it like, oh, it's to keep it cleaner or whatever. But they know
they lie.
Exactly what they're doing. They know all of the sensory. They know the trauma that's involved in doing that to a little child. And it's part of this dark agenda program. And so I really honor you for bringing that up and sharing it the way that you did, because it really seems to be out of balance. I don't really hear of women, abusing men a lot. I always hear of men abusing women, rape, sexual abuse, taking advantage. And to try and answer your question, and we can dive into this deeper because this is great. And I wish we would have got to spend more time when we were together in Thailand. You left, but I'm glad I got to meet you. So the whole entire time that I was doing the course with men only, it was never part of the course. It was all about make more money. They did touch on the wound a little bit, but nobody out of any man I ever worked with, and the owner of the company, never even thought to address that. So men don't really want to share it unless I think there's a very, very safe invitation in which to do that, because it never came up on any call. And I had my hands full just learning the process of mirroring, and plus I had so much responsibility to keep these men on track every day. I mean, they had assignments on top of assignments, and it was a full-time job for me. In waking up in the dream, which I'm launching a new course, and it's going to be a tribe, and it's going to be called Dream Life Activation Tribe. And so I'm going to take the part that if I advertised it, most people wouldn't probably sign up, which is we're going to go look at the belief system, we're going to look at the wounds and uncover them, and we're going to begin to have tools and techniques to clear that stuff, even if it's been decades long, because I see success in every single group I do. But also there's going to be part 2 of this course that's going to make it even more well-rounded and more attractive to so many more people, where we're going to show people how to step out of a place where they're at that they don't like, which for me was the 9-to-5 job. I got run into the ground in corporate America. I got carpal tunnel as a graphic artist, having quotas and quotas. And luckily my injuries forced me into becoming a recording engineer. And I built up my whole career around that. And then all the time I spent studying with Miguel and the other teachers, I turned that into a job. Then I started traveling and learned how to do. So I'm going to show people.
Go back to the differences, though. You're going off on the new course. Okay. Go back and tell me what's the difference in the masculine and the feminine.
For some reason, the women are willing to go there easier, I guess. That's my experience. I mean, I guess if I created a course, I wouldn't even know how to advertise a course for men to do that, because nobody's going to want to sign up where they think they're going to have to reveal shame, or it's very, this is the problem, one of the problems in society with men being able to clear this stuff, is having a safe place to go and not go, yeah, I'm going to sign up for a course where I go in and talk about the sexual wounding course. You know, it's like, this has to be done where people feel very, very safe. And for some reason, I attracted 7 women that after seeing my lives and my posts and everything felt very safe and coming in.
Well, obviously, you were answering a need. So you don't get 7 that come that, I mean, the material that worked for the masculine without talking about sexual abuse is working for the feminine and healing the sexual abuse. So it's an interesting what's crossing over and what's, you know, they're not, the men are talking about it amongst the men, but the women will cross over and talk about it. And I could say the same thing, is that I found, you know, my work as a dominatrix was the first piece of this, is going, you know, I get the stories that they don't tell their wives, they don't tell their pastors, they don't tell their priests. They confess to their dominatrix because she will understand them and not judge them and have an understanding and empathy. And and even not a respect or a shared kink. I mean, they'll come to you because, you know, every dominatrix has her specialty. And, you know, some doms don't like their feet touched and they only want their house cleaned. And, you know, you can do it naked or whatever that is. But whatever that is a doorway into something else. It's a doorway into that first sexual experience. It's a doorway into how you identify yourself and who you are as a being, or where the shame comes in, or that Stockholm syndrome comes in. Because as my experience has been, there's good BDSM, there's bad BDSM. And ones that keep you in a perpetual pattern of self-hate is bad BDSM. And so when you can heal that, though, well, I lose a client, which is kind of fun. And I was like, oh, they don't need that fetish anymore. They're over it. They've moved on, and they can incorporate the shame into their, oh, they're okay. They're not, there's nothing wrong with them. To moving on to what else can they explore? And so that's what I'm excited about, is hearing, is that the women are going to men to get that healing. We don't sit in our little or chicken coops or hen houses, and which is why I kind of boycott going to all women's groups anymore. I'm like, I'm sick of that. You know, it's just bitching and moaning about men, or they don't understand me. And I'm like, they never will. You never talk to them. You're here talking to each other. So it was like, it's time to cross over. It's time to communicate on a different level, because we can't repeat this pattern and expect there's going to be a change. And when it was the Mankind Project that got my attention, and when I went to South Africa, I met with the leadership there, and they were the ones that brought it to my attention that we could only take the men's groups so far, and that we could not embrace the feminine within the masculine at varying different levels without shame, that the guys just couldn't go there amongst themselves. And I just went, well, that's a problem. So, well, that ain't gonna work. We got to fix that. So, you know, they realized men talking to men alone was just not going to be the end all be all to solving our big issues from our programming and our abuse on both sides, and that we needed to cross over and do that. So I honor you for taking that step and just being open and not just saying no. And you know, I'm like, okay, what do we do different? And healing is what we need to be done. And I agree wholeheartly. The feminine needs to express it and have it understood by the masculine, instead of pointing a finger in ignorance, because that's what we've done, questioning and wondering. So being in that gap and being in that position to do that, I applaud. I applaud. I just simply applaud. Thank you.
What this brings up for me is a little bit of sadness, because I don't know if this will happen again or when it'll happen. These women just happened to line up, and once one spoke, I think it gave the other ones permission. I didn't plan on this turning into this, but I always go into the wound, and I usually try and do it on the call before the group starts, just because you can tell a lot about people by the way they tell their story. So I've learned to listen really quick. And, you know, people tell me, I'm working with people that have been doing therapy with psychiatrists and psychologists for decades. And they go, I did more in 2 weeks with you. And I'm not, you know, trying to get a bunch of accolades here, but I just do what I do, and I've been taught to go right into where it is. And this course is about tuning into vibration and frequency. The vibration, every thought, every word, and every emotion has a specific frequency. Yeah. Love, gratitude, compassion are up here. Hate, fear, unworthiness, and lack of forgiveness and anger are down here. And when you start to track them and feel that what they feel like, you can start to notice them immediately, and you just go, oh, and you take a breath, you go, what's that trying to teach me? Boom. Or when the ego tries to throw you, when the ego tries to throw you an old judgment or a trigger, you know it's about you. One of the greatest realizations that really helped me energetically was, and I wrote an entire chapter on judgment in my book, because judgment is the biggest addiction on the planet. It's not drugs, it's not alcohol, it's judgment. Because anything that goes against your learned belief system triggers the ego. It's set up so beautifully to trigger everybody over and over and over and over. And until you see it, you just get triggered. It's a brilliant, deceptive system to keep people at odds with each other.
I like that. Yeah.
Democrat separation, you see it everywhere. And so I was a judgeaholic.
Yeah.
I thought that if I pointed out everything out there, okay, the Catholic priests, pedophilia, the government, the IRS, just all the lies, I thought if I pointed it out, that somehow that would shine more light and awareness on it and it would fix it. But because everything is a vibrational hologram, and every thought, you can think of it as an invisible energetic thread. So everything that you judge, you are not only giving energy to, but you're attracting more of it to you in this vibrating hologram of frequencies. So every thought, every word, and every emotion, to simplify it, think of them as magnets.
Law of attraction works real well either way, negative or positive.
I thought pointing out everything that was wrong out there would somehow fix it. But what it actually does is it magnetizes that frequency-wise in every cell of your body. So
it made you a good judge. Unfortunately.
How do you do it? Do you just turn a blind eye to pedophilia and all these lies from the government and the fluoride in our water and the poison? No. You send compassion. And you, at some basic level, if the law of one and there is only one of us, then the best energetic tool is to say, I know that somehow you are playing your role to wake us up. And even though it's horrible that you are torturing children for adrenochrome, drinking their blood, sacrificing, human trafficking, breeding, if I go against them, then I'm feeding. I'm feeding what they feed off of. So I walk in two different worlds. I walk in the world of gratitude. Everybody in the group is taught to start their day off as soon as they wake up out of what we call the sleeping dream. They immediately go into gratitude, and then they immediately create their day. If they step 1 foot out of bed before creating their day and doing that process, the 50 to 80,000 thoughts start running immediately, and you're back on automatic recycle, everything you've pretty much been doing over and over. So this thing of creating your day and raising your vibration immediately as soon as you awaken is a masterful 1-2 key to creating what you really want to show up in your reality. So that's a little bit of information on frequency and if anybody's interested in going on this journey, reach out to me, PM me, or go to thesourceoftruth.com.
I'll put your link up there so we'll have it.
You.
I appreciate you coming on and taking the time, because I knew we wanted to get into that, and I wanted to get that, feel it out of you. One of the things I appreciate about the process of
What a
looking.
cool bird.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
Oh, this place is known for the birds. You can see 70 different species here. So it's a birder's paradise here. But what I was saying about your work and identifying the triggers that hold us back, it really just releases into the next level. And if we can just it's just a muscle. It's just another little practice or discipline that we can get in the habit of. And I appreciate all the teachers that have gone before us, especially in the work of ego. But I don't think of ego as something I need to shove aside, because it is my operating system. I think it's something I need to discipline and use as a tool to take me to the next level of existence. So it is our responsibility, once we get beyond the programming and heal from the triggers, there's something more. There's what we want next. And there's the opportunity of our planet to expand and heal happier lives for, fourth dimension and fifth dimension and the multiple dimensions that are still out there. I'm like, we got a long way to go, kids. It's not enough just to get healed. There's more. There's yet there's more. So I'm always excited about, okay, what do I need next? And I've always been a futurist in my thinking. I'm like, okay, I need to learn that so I can get here, right? And these are one of those steps that seemed critical. Excuse me. And healing that divide of we can't heal each other is the part that I wanted to speak about, and I thought of importance to address today, is that the masculine can heal the feminine, and the feminine can help heal the masculine. And it's not our job to do it for them, but again, give the tools, share what we know, be that mirror. And I love that you use the mirror, because that is my Mayan symbol under the Mayan astrology, is the mirror, and to use your life as a story that they can reflect and grow from. So thank you again.
Are we out of time?
We're getting there. No, I'm going to ask the questions. You tell me more stories. And what's
you want to touch on one thing. There's when we talk about the ego, some people say, talk about killing it, but you really can't unless you die.
Right.
And stop the brain. So we want to put it in the corner. But one of the things that really, really helped me was seeing the difference, and I talk about this in the book, becoming the conscious observer as opposed to the automatic reactor.
Yeah.
And that's and the other piece to this is that really, really helped me is to think of things in terms of frequency and vibration. I mean, Tesla said it, all those guys said it, but it was only touched on maybe in one chapter in science, but they didn't teach you how important it was. So when if you begin to look at the concept of my vibration, whether I'm aware of it or not, consciously, is attracting everything in my life. That means the relationship, I work with people and they go, I keep attracting the same person in relationships over and over and over. That's because that frequency or wound or whatever, or less than belief or unworthiness is still operating. So when you begin to track your frequency and tune into how am I feeling, not thinking, how am I feeling?
Thank you.
Take a breath, get quiet, and then realize that every word, every thought, every word, and every emotion has a frequency, and it is attracting something. You might have one thought or one judgment. That doesn't mean it's going to automatically show up. But if you're holding that, it's what's going to attract. So very, very key to tune into frequency and vibration.
Agreed. And I've explained it by electromagnetic pulse. Thoughts are electrical, emotions are magnetic. So whatever you think of, you magnetize and attract to you. That explains the law of attraction and how that works. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, your thoughts manifest, period. And I went, oh, okay.
And then it applies to your food, your music, everything that has a vibration.
Yeah.
And actually, everything's vibrating every single thing. So
Everything,
to me,
everything.
to me, once I put together, oh, okay, I was a judgeaholic, and that's attracting more. Then I went, oh, okay, it even goes deeper, but how can I simplify it? Okay, every thought, every word, and every emotion has this invisible frequency to it. And everything is magnetic. So if I can find a way or create a way to really begin to track that and become the observer as opposed to the automatic reactor, now you shift. It just shifts everything in your whole life.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You go from one place, automatic reactor, to observer, to focus intender, because I would be on that end of the extreme because I'm always looking what's next and focusing on, well, I want to see some peace in the Middle East. I want to see the environment I live in healthy, green with butterflies floating and in my world. And so if I'm like, okay, I've moved into from reaction to being in a space of gratefulness and intending more. And I'm amazed at um, our species' ability to get comfortable easy. Because I'm like, how come nobody else is in a hurry to get off the planet like me? I'm like, wait a minute, isn't there more? Isn't there more? And it's probably my greediness. I'll admit to that. But I just like, I'm not happy if, I get Greta. I'm sorry, Greta, you're in pain. And from your perspective and the abuse of that child being used in that way is shameful. But it is still real pain and it's still real emotion that she's feeling and expressing that people identify to. Now, whether that's getting milked for the energy, that can be is one thing, but there's more to just acknowledging the pain. We've got to, and the work is not about, okay, we had it, we're over it, we're at peace. We want we want real peace. We want real joy on a regular basis. So it's like I'm not settled yet. Until my planet is at peace, I feel like I have work to do. And it is our individual efforts that is going to take it to make it happen. And I remember having a God complex of like, I gotta save the world. And I went, that's gonna be hard. I'm like, it's big. They don't even speak English, half of them. So I'm like, well, we're gonna have to break that down a little more. And went, okay, well, I got to do what I can. And I got to encourage everybody to do what they can because it takes all of us. And it is not going to be a one-shot wonder of an aha moment, but a practice with a little trigger tool.
And it all begins within. You can go out and preach and say everything you see that's wrong. I did that. That's the natural thing. It's easier to point out what's wrong out there than to go in here, because the ego
what's
doesn't
wrong in here. Yeah.
But
yeah.
There are many schools of thought that there is no other.
Yeah.
If you break it down to what's happening inside, to what's really happening, all this is happening. You just did DMT. All this is happening with chemical reactions inside of our brain, but it appears that there's something outside. So the way I see it and the way I approach it is, I'm walking in two worlds.
Yeah.
And if I envision peace when I close my eyes or open my eyes, I can feel it. Then I open my eyes and I see things in the media and out there, and I want to fix them. So I'm walking in two different worlds at the same time. Do I feel good when I do a post about Greta being manipulated by Soros and the other billionaires that are really behind it? No, it lowers my energy. I don't like it. But I'm walking this, what feels like a fine line, because other people shared things with me that got me to wake up. So it feels like on part of it, there's an urgency to go, can't you see this?
Right.
But what I'm really feeling into now is, I think I can let that go. Everything will be just fine.
Yeah.
Because my frequency is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And for every post that I share, and I probably share hundreds, if not 1,000 posts a month, maybe, I don't know. And then I do Facebook Lives every week. And maybe once in a while I see somebody that goes, God, I was so stuck. And then I saw one of these posts and now I totally get it. I'm like totally waking up. I think most of the people that see the posts about awakening, they're already awake. So
yes.
I don't think I need to spend a lot of time going,
I agree.
knock, knock. Can you see what's going on with the media? I mean, the mainstream media is the greatest brainwashing tool ever. And it is the reason why most people are still believing in it. They trust it. And
I want to agree with you on those who are awake are awake. At the same time, when I think about that, it makes me go, oh, well, what do I have to do? And I went, but I instinctually I go, but that ain't everybody, because I can look at my own family and go, everybody ain't awake, and go, okay, get back to work. There's still more you can do, and even it's all levels of awakeness anyway. So it's like, okay, well, we got to learn that, and we got to learn that, and we got to take care of our bodies and learn how to do that, and we've got to keep that spiritual connection open. We got to learn how to do that, and we got to keep learning, and we got to fix what triggers have held us back. So it's like, yes, we're awake and we're back in school, and we're all adding to the mix of what's in the school. And I haven't watched television in a long time, and to me, it's been replaced with YouTube vision and Facebook vision, or the book of
choose
faces.
Your vibration of what you want to feed on. You know?
Yeah. Anywhere, it doesn't matter the medium, it's like it's all available in any locale. It's a choice: music, food, etc. So it is what, as we grow, as I love what Maya Angelou said: when we know better, we do better. And that's all I can expect of myself every day. When I know better, I do better, because I like doing better. It feels good. And that's a universal feel good I think we all can. And I remember hearing a super soldier talk about other dimensional beings. And he was asked, do they love their families? Or do they have children? Do they take care of them? And he was like, I don't know about that. The only thing I've observed is they all have a sense of humor. And I went, oh, well, I could work with that. Everybody, there's an understanding of the basics of, it's not humanity anymore. We can see humor in animals, so we get that. But we go, we can all go together in some differences or not, whether they have hearts or fingers like us, or look like us, or can smell like us. We have something that we're all going after. And that gives me universal, omniversal hope of I'm still on track. And it's not done. There's no nirvana I get to and I get to relax. It's still part of this matrix game I call consciousness, not even life anymore, but just consciousness evolving over and over. And it gets better and better. I have no complaints. It's still getting better and better. With every thought. With every thought. We can just manifest. Like I manifested you at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm grateful for that, brother. And now it's 11 o'clock at night, so I won't be manifesting. I'll let you go into the...
I'm good. Interestingly enough, I have to be up from 2 to 4 p.m.
Oh, you ain't going nowhere. Okay.
Because I'm involved in a 14-day challenge right now of building this Dream Life Activation Tribe, which will be launched on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it's gonna be a late one tonight, but I love it. I'm a night owl.
Okay, so tell us about when will you be launching this on Facebook? And
within the next 30 days, there's some piece. I really want to have it dialed in energetically when I launch it.
And do people need to go through the first part before they get into the second part?
No, it's going to be part of the same package. That's the plan right now. It'll be kind of waking up in the dream combined with, we're going to map out where you are and where you want to go. Then we're going to map out simple steps, support, accountability, and give you all the tools to create a lifestyle. Basically, I mean, I don't think there's any escaping the matrix. We're kind of in it. but I'm talking about the old program of work 50 to 60 years before you retire. Tired is written right in the word. No, do what you love right now, believe in it, and find a way to water those seeds. And before you know it, you'll be like, oh my God, my unique gift, what I came here as my soul's purpose. There's people that need that because it's built into my soul's journey. Just takes a little bit of confidence, a little bit of hand holding for people, and showing them, look, you can do this, and you don't have to quit your corporate job right now. But I do have people that go through the 30-day course, and they're like, after 2 calls, they're like, I'm out, I'm quitting, because they see the program and they go, I have the tools and the resources to do this. And so, it's going to be very powerful. So thank you for asking.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And I know I missed hanging out. Then you were way on the other side of Chiang Mai, so I wasn't going to be driving as much as I wanted to. But I hope one day to return to Asia, or you're welcome to Vilcabamba, because there are men who like to wake in the dream and women who like to wake up in the dream and like to see that happen around the world. And thank you for contributing to Owning Masculinity. I appreciate your thoughts and your considerations on that. And hope you will lead a guided meditation for our group and doing that. And I'm sitting on the fence now of like, do I invite women to the group or not? Not yet.
That's a good question. And if you're open, we can water some seeds on doing some stuff in the future if you'd like.
Okay.
Because I got a dear friend in the States, and she's done a lot of the Toltec work and a lot of deep healing work with people.
Right.
So we're going to align, and we're going to start doing courses and things together, because I think there's a really good balance of having a woman that's done a lot of the work and a man together. And I think that will kind of help bridge this gap of, I guess, safety in a way.
Bingo. Exactly.
Because at the end, we all have to come together. It's not just, I don't want to just work with men and then just work with women. We all need to come together. So I may do some separate things, but I'm really drawn to having people come together, because my experience from doing these monthly courses with men and women is it's not a problem, but it's something to be looked at, because I'm not sure that these women would have shared on the deep level that they have if there were men in the group. In fact, I kind of feel like they probably wouldn't have.
I agree.
I'd like to play a role in bridging that gap. So if you have any ideas around that, or you'd like to do any workshops or webinars or anything, and I come to mind based on what I do, the passion and the tools that I have and the understanding from what you know about me, please let me know. Because,
I would. I think that is.
I honor you, and you're a badass, as I call it, and you have a lot of amazing tools, and I really honor you for what you bring forth, and just kind of the little that I know about you, that I've learned about you. So I look forward to learning more and supporting you and anybody in this group in any way that I can. So
terrific.
Yeah, if this resonates with anybody, feel free to PM me, reach out, go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Jeff9, the number 9 cloud.
Yes. And I offer the same for your gentlemen as well. If those are the topics that have not been touched on, I'd love to be able to support and make that bridge happen, because it's whole healing. That's that holistic part we keep looking for. We're with that whole healing thing. So they're happy to talk with you about how we can do that and bridge that. I agree. I don't think it's an open forum of everybody talking and sharing, but one ear from the other side makes it. And I learned that honestly from being a camp counselor, and would be a summer camp counselor for high school kids. So the loud girls that I could hang out with and be silly with were not the girls that came to me for counseling. They were the shy ones that came to me, and it was the opposites that attract. And so respecting and honoring that, I'm like, we have a role to do. So salute you.
Till next time.
Till next time. Thank you.
I'll see you in the dream.
See, I'm always, baby. See you in the dream.
Don't be late.
All right. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me this hour, and my Patreon followers. I appreciate your time and your love and your support, because you make this possible, and because I had to get my focus right, fixed, And thank you, Bert, for making that happen for me. Because I was like, I'm not a technology phobe, but I am almost 60. So it's moving faster than I am. So I appreciate your help and support. So please follow and subscribe on YouTube. I'm glad I accomplished what I wanted to today. And namaste, y'all. Love y'all. Bye.